Hey everybody, thank you so much for stopping in. I have some exciting information for you and I got a lot of really good stuff I'm going to tell you about today. I'm sitting here in my kitchen with a good friend of mine, his name's Jeremy, and Jeremy started asking me questions. See, I've been a pharmacist for 20 years. I've been helping people quit smoking and lose weight and get physically healthy for a long time. And I said to him, Jeremy, let's stop this conversation and let's record it, because what I find is that I have this conversation over and over and over and over. And I think that everybody needs to hear this information, because there is a lot of misconceptions out there about what it means to be super healthy, what it means to eat properly, what it means to actually lose weight. And the biggest thing that I find is so many people don't understand. See, they've been led down this road by the food industry to believe that they have to eat certain foods and that certain foods are bad for them and they need to keep doing what they say in order to be healthy. And that information is wrong. So my goal for you today is to literally empower you. I want you to take back control of your health. I want you to take back control of your mind, and I want you to take back control of your weight, if that's something that's really bothering you. So we started the conversation today, and one of the questions he asked me was, hey, I was trying to get better at a few things, and so I actually gave up eating bread, and I was feeling good. But when I started telling my friends that I gave up bread, they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, bread's important. Don't you know that they talk about fiber, and you need to have fiber in your diet? This is the thing that you need to realize. If you want to get super healthy, we need to really look at what is in the products that we're eating. See, we have a tendency to pick up on a word and say, okay, fiber's the word, so it doesn't matter what I eat as long as it's got fiber. So, hey, I made a change from regular bread to brown bread because now it's got a little bit more fiber in it. And you go, yes, I'm on the right track and I'm going to do well. And yet a couple weeks go by and you've gotten used to eating brown bread. It doesn't bother you anymore. At first it felt kind of hard, but now you're eating brown bread, but you look at the scale and look at your energy level and you go, geez, I still feel like crap. I'm doing what they said and I still feel awful. Why is that? Well, let me take a few minutes to explain things to you, and we actually have to roll the wheel back a little bit. See, we were not designed, we've been on this planet for a million years, or even more. We were not designed to eat bread multiple times per day. We were not designed to eat pulverized flour multiple times per day and have that be our energy source. See, if you roll the wheel back, let's go back, say 10,000 years. Imagine you're like on the plains, living in this area, or you're a Viking, or you're living in the Mediterranean and you're trying to survive and the weather and the temperature changes. Here's the thing that you need to realize. Back in those days, one of the biggest things that caused people to die was starvation, because we ran out of food. And when you looked at that, there's a big belief in here that says I need to make sure that I've got food available and I need to make sure that I have energy and I can survive. So we had to look at how do we get through an entire season. Well, in that area, there are seasons of the year. So if you imagine spring comes around and you just finished getting through a long, cold winter where there was very little growing on the trees, there was no fruit available, and so we managed to get through eating things like fish or maybe catching a small animal and being able to eat that. And so now we come back to spring, and spring is an exciting time because spring means the development of more vegetation, more growth, more flowers, more plants, and more fruit. And when the fruit arrives, what happens is all of a sudden you have access to a really easy source of energy. The fruit comes into your system, you get to eat fruit. Now imagine that starving to death was kind of the main reason that people died back in those days, and you come across a field, whether it's a field of blueberries or raspberries or mixed fruit, whatever it is, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to stop and you're going to eat as much fruit as you possibly can. You're going to sit down, you're going to plant yourself there, and you're going to eat everything that's available to you. You're going to stuff yourself full of that. And so when you eat fruit on a regular basis, what happens is that your body takes that in. The fruit has a lot of fructose in it, but that fructose is trapped in the matrix of the fruit. So you chew the fruit up, you release that, it tastes sweet, and you get the energy out of it. So your body at that point then says, awesome, we've got this easy source of energy. We're going to use that as much as we can to burn so that we can get through our day, we can do our activities, we can hunt, we can find a mate, all of that kind of stuff. And as the time goes on, that fruit, the excess, starts to cause us to gain weight. So when you eat more fruit, when you eat more sugar than you should, your body starts to gain weight. And as your body starts to gain weight, the reason it's gaining weight at that point is that it knows that it's time there will be a day when the food becomes short. There will not be enough of it. So we start lining the insides of our body with a little bit of fat. That's how we store excess energy. The excess energy that you eat that doesn't get burned up gets stored as fat. And so when we're storing that fat, it gets stuck all over the place. So back in that day, the only real source of sugar that you got, that easy energy, was fruit. So you'd eat the fruit, and what would happen over the course of a few months of overeating fruit? Well, you start to gain weight. You start to get a little bit thicker. You start to put on a little more mass. Your muscles even start to get stronger because you've taken in all of this good quality nutrients, and you get a little bigger. So over the course of the summer, as you eat all of that fruit, that's what's happening is your body starts storing it. Whenever there's more energy coming in than you need, your body stores it, and it stores it as fat. Now, imagine you get to the end of fall and you know that winter is coming, and you know that it's cold, and you're going to have a little more trouble finding food. So we start to decrease our activities a little. We start to slow down. We don't burn as much. We start to plan for the winter. We know that in the winter, well, we'll be able to fish, possibly, and we'll be able to hunt. So we start preparing ourselves for that. As the fruit and the sugar goes away, we get into a stage where we're eating mostly proteins and good quality fats. And in today's society, when we talk about taking out carbohydrates and we take out sugars, what happens is we actually put ourselves into a state of ketosis. So now your body is burning mainly fats as its energy source and using the protein to continue building up muscles and enzymes and all of that stuff in order to keep your body functioning. Okay, so here we've gone from a place of little sugar to a place of lots of sugar. Our body weight actually goes up a little bit from eating all that sugar. We come back into winter and now there's a shortage, and we switch into eating mostly good quality fats and good quality proteins. Now here's the trouble. Back in those days, your weight would go up and your weight would come down. Your weight would go up and your weight would come down. Roll the ball ahead 10,000 years to now. When is fruit available? Fruit is available every day. So you can imagine we get into that spring mode, we get into that time when fruit is easily accessible and there's lots of sugar available, and we start eating that and our body starts gaining weight in preparation for the day that it goes away. And yet it never goes away. We get to the end of the season, we get past the summer, we get into fall, we start to lose the ability of what would be on the trees. But now all of a sudden you go to the supermarket and there's a full aisle of excess fruit, which we know is good for us, but it's too abundant. We don't need that much. And so we need to start changing the way that we eat. And people say, well, I hear what you're saying, Patrick, but the doctor tells me and the nutritionist says it's really the sugar is the problem and I should be eating some fruit. Absolutely you should, but it doesn't need to be part of your diet every day. And when we walk through this program, we're going to show you how to introduce it, have it be in there for a little while, and then we take it away. Because those sugars, it doesn't matter whether it comes from real fruit or it comes from table sugar or it comes from other carbohydrates, all of that has only one option, but to convert to fat in your system for storage. So when there's too much around, our body just stores it as fat. And then the next day, when we potentially could burn off some of that fat, you know what we do? We eat more. We just keep eating more because there's more in the area. There's more at the grocery store for us to pick up. And then the media tells us, well, we deserve a break today, so maybe we should have some excess treats. Or I get hangry. I start to feel like, geez, I feel bad, so I'm going to eat something else. So it's not only fruit that is the problem, it's all of those carbohydrates. Now here's the question that most people don't understand. When we start looking at eating within those guidelines, if you are of perfect health and perfect weight and have lots of activity, you can probably follow the typical standard guidelines and be okay. But for most of us, we've been in a situation where we eat way too many sugars, way too many carbs for way too long. And when we eat all of those things, what does it do? It gets stored. We're not burning all that calories, so it gets stored in our system. And let me give you an example. So people will say that we need to eat a certain amount of fiber in our diet. We have to have fiber, Pat. If you take bread out of your diet, then you're not getting enough fiber. I'm going to tell you right now that that's not the only way to get fiber. There are better ways to get fiber. But the food industry wants us to believe that that's the best way. And I remember being a kid. I'm going to tell you a little story. So I would watch the TV, and the common commercials that you'd see all morning along when you'd watch TV or even into the evening was, what are the foods that are part of a normal breakfast? Well, here's a great example. This is just a box of rice cereal. And the rice cereal would come on and they'd say part of a nutritious breakfast. This wasn't even one of the sweet cereals, the kind of cereals that everybody loved to have. This was just a basic cereal. Well, what is in a rice cereal? Well, let me give you an example. So ingredients in a rice cereal. Let's have a look at this. The first ingredient, of course, is rice. Well, what is rice? If there's only 3 real things that we have as a choice, we have proteins, we have fats, and we have carbohydrates. Rice falls into a carbohydrate. Now here's another myth that people don't understand. Every carbohydrate that you eat gets converted to sugar in your body. The definition of a carbohydrate is just a really complex sugar. It's made up of multiple sugars all stuck together, and that creates a carbohydrate. When we start to break those up, when you digest it, your body just makes sugar out of that product. So the first ingredient, let's all agree, if it's rice, it's a carbohydrate. If it's a carbohydrate, it's sugar. So the first ingredient in this part of our nutritious breakfast is sugar. Now here's the great thing. Because rice by itself doesn't have a lot of flavor, you know what they do to rice in order to make it taste better? They add sugar. They add sugar to it. So now our nutritious breakfast contains rice, which is sugar, and sugar. So first 2 ingredients, sugar, sugar. The third ingredient is a product called barley malt extract. Well, what family does barley malt extract break down into? It's in the carbohydrate and the sugar family. So this product, part of our nutritious breakfast, is sugar, sugar. Oh, and then I forgot, the third ingredient is actually salt. Because if they want us to eat something, it has to have the right mix of salt and sugar and sweetness so that we desire it. So in this product, the first 4 ingredients are rice, sugar, salt, barley malt extract. So if we call them by their simplest, we've got sugar, sugar, salt, sugar. And they say, well, wait a minute. We can't tell people that that's part of a nutritious breakfast. Sugar, sugar, salt, sugar, that's not nutritious. What are we going to do? How are we going to sell them this product? Rice is really cheap. It's easy to make this product. Sugar is really cheap. It's easy to make this product. Salt is really cheap. It's so cheap to make this product, but we can't tell them it's good for us yet. It's not good for us. What are we going to do? And one of those fantastic, smart scientists says, well, wait a minute. What if we add some iron? Well, in order to make this product healthy, let's add some vitamins. So we add some niacin, some thiamine, some calcium. We'll add some pyridoxine, which is vitamin B6, and we'll add some folic acid. So now we've got sugar, sugar, salt, sugar, and a multivitamin. And we go, yes, now there's some good food in there because our government says, yes, we need to have vitamins, and vitamins are healthy. So now this can be a part of a nutritious breakfast. Awesome. We can sell this product to as many people as we can. We can make it super cheap so that they eat lots of it. And as long as they believe it's good for them, they're going to keep eating it. So we can say, hey, it's not only a breakfast cereal, we can eat it at bedtime too because it's still good for you. Wrong. Sugar, sugar, salt, sugar, multivitamin is not good for you. Let me give you another example. A piece of bread. A piece of bread, one average piece of bread has 75 calories in it. In that one piece of bread, you're looking at about 14 grams of carbohydrates. Well, what did we say carbohydrates are? Carbohydrates are sugar. So 14 grams of that, that's 3 teaspoons full, is going directly into sugar. Now, how many of you really only eat 1 piece of toast in the morning? We usually have 2 pieces of toast, and we usually put jam on it. Maybe we even put some butter on it. But let's look at the toast by itself. If you have 2 pieces of toast, you're looking at 28 grams of sugar. 28 grams of carbohydrates that break down to sugar in your system. And that then becomes your fuel source. It doesn't matter what else you eat. That gets in. Your body says, this is super easy to burn. We've got it readily available. We're going to burn that. But wait a minute, we haven't actually done anything today. We haven't actually burned any energy. We don't need any. Our muscles are not working. You know what we're going to do with that? We're going to store it. We're just going to take all of that nutritious breakfast and we're going to start storing it. How is that serving you? Let me give you another example. This guy here. This is a can of pop. What's in a can of pop? Well, there's 150 calories in that. There's 42 grams of sugar. That's 8 teaspoons of sugar in it. Let's compare that to the 2 pieces of bread that you just ate. The 2 pieces of bread have about 28 grams of sugar. So that's just about 3 full teaspoons of sugar in that same product. Well, the bread, you say, wait a minute, the bread has some ingredients in it. It's enriched, so it has some vitamins like thiamine and B6 and niacin in it. Right, so it's 6 teaspoons of sugar and a vitamin. It's roughly equivalent to having a can of pop and a multivitamin. Now, nobody would tell you that a can of pop and a multivitamin is a good way to start your day, but the food industry is basically telling you the same thing when you eat cereals. And that was just a plain cereal, a basic cereal. Imagine if that was one of those sweet, sugary cereals that you see all the commercials for. It's crazy. People don't understand this. They say, well, Pat, I eat a good diet, and I eat well. When I eat well, so what does eating well mean? Well, I usually have a bowl of cereal for breakfast with some fruit, and then for lunch, I usually have a sandwich with some meat, and then for supper, well, I have a little piece of meat, but then I have a big plate of potatoes. So if you were to break that down, here's what we're looking at. Breakfast then became fruit, which was sugar, and cereal, which was sugar. Lunch, we threw in 2 pieces of sugar, which we also call bread, in between something in the middle. Probably processed meat. Processed meat has a tendency to have a lot of sugar in it too. And then you get to supper and you say, okay, well, I ate pretty good. I haven't even snacked that much, so I'm going to eat my potatoes, and I'm going to eat my little bit of meat, and I'm going to have, well, I don't really like veggies, but I'll have a little bit of those, so probably corn or something like that. Well, here's the thing people don't understand. What is a potato? When you eat a potato breaks down in your system again to starches, to carbohydrates that then break down to sugar. That big potato that you eat. So a cup of mashed potatoes, just like a cup of pasta, just like a cup of rice, each one of those is full of carbohydrates. In fact, they have as many as 40 grams of carbohydrates, which are sugars. And when you eat those sugars, what does it do? It gets stored. So you end up back at the doctor, you say, Doc, I don't know what's going on. I gave up eating chocolate bars, I gave up eating chips, I gave up eating all that other stuff, and I'm still gaining weight. I'm just eating good food. I'm eating breads, like you said. Well, maybe your doctor didn't tell you that. But I'm eating breads, I'm eating a little bit of veg, I'm eating some good meats, I'm eating potatoes, and I'm rice and pasta, and I'm still gaining weight. We've developed an eating program that helps to eliminate some of these things from your diet, but before they go away, we spend a lot of time talking about why do we eat the foods we do. Because the reason you eat the foods becomes the most powerful thing. In our society today, we eat a lot of foods not because we need them for nourishment, not because we need them to make us strong and healthy. We eat them because the media tells us to. We eat them because we've grown up believing that when I feel bad, I eat. When I feel lonely, I eat. When I feel excited and I'm with friends, I eat. When I'm having a good time, I eat. God forbid we ever get hungry. We just eat all the time. And as we eat those, it continues to make our bodies unhealthy. It continues to break them down if we're not eating the right foods. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you the information to empower you to be the best you possible. Now, I can't do the heavy lifting for you, but I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to make this as easy as possible. Because while we start looking at how to make you more healthy, we're also going to change your perception of what fear is, of what stress is, of what anxiety is, of what frustration is. And we're going to teach you how to flip yourself into a state of being happy and free and curious and determined. See, I'd love for you to come on this journey with me. We put over 150 people through this program, and what we've found is that people, when they're finished the program, they look at food different. They look at their body different. They look at their energy level different. And when you start to change the way somebody feels, it makes it easier to make better choices. We will physically change the way that you think about food, and we'll physically give you the ability to change the way that food works in your body. This is going to be an amazing, amazing adventure for you. Give me 12 weeks. We meet once a week for 12 weeks, and I will absolutely change the way that you look at food, the way you feel about food, and the way your body feels. One of the people that took my class stopped and they said, Patrick, I got to tell you, I lost weight on your program. Absolutely, I did. But the best part of it, the best part is that I actually feel clean on the inside. I feel like I wake up with a good mindset. I feel like I wake up and I've got energy. I feel like I have a good reason to get out of bed. And here's the neat thing is that I am so confident in this program that if you sign up, you do the program, and you don't get the results that you wanted, you don't feel any different, I will give you your money back. I'm so confident that this program will cause you to feel better. It'll cause you to look at food different, and it'll start to change your mindset. That if you don't find that you benefit from that, I will gladly give you your money back. I've been doing this now for an entire year, and nobody has asked me for their money back. But the letters of thank you and appreciation keep flowing in. So here's what I need from you today. Click the link below, and that'll give you access to some of my free videos and some of my information so that we can start this journey together. What are good quality fats? What are good quality proteins? What are good quality vegetables to be eating? What are the foods that are really holding you back? And on top of that, what are we telling ourselves? What are we telling ourselves that's really holding us back?